Right. So today we're going back in time, back to 1980s New York City
Oh, okay.
for a deep dive into the life and crimes of a lesser-known serial killer, David Bullock.
Mm.
You might know him as the .38 caliber killer.
Hmm.
Yeah. This guy was operating like right on the heels of the Son of Sam case.
Oh, wow.
But his story never really never got the same level of attention. So
Yeah.
we're going to try to figure out why.
Yeah.
Using excerpts from his Wikipedia page.
I'm interesting.
And trust me, it's going to be a wild ride. So,
Okay.
we often hear about patterns in the lives of people who commit violent crimes.
Right.
And Bullock's early life kind of fits that mold in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. Like, he was born in 1960.
Okay.
It was basically raised by his grandfather
Mm-hmm.
because his parents struggled with alcoholism.
Right.
Yeah. Makes you wonder,
Hmm.
how much did their struggles actually shape his path? Was
Mm.
this outcome, like, inevitable?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's also that classic pattern of escalating criminal activity. So Bullock gets expelled from school after his first arrest for
Yes.
theft at
It
16.
seems, wow.
Yeah. And then between 77 and 81,
Yeah.
he's racking up all these arrests for theft and burglary.
Wow.
It's like he's on this trajectory that just keeps getting darker and darker.
And then things really take a turn when he ends up in Manhattan.
Right.
Imagine you're Bullock. You're in this massive city, desperate to survive,
Mm-hmm.
and you end up turning to male prostitution.
Oh, where?
It's hard not to see how that kind of an environment could push someone towards
Yeah, right.
more dangerous choices.
Yeah, it's a small glimpse into this other side of the city that most people just don't see, where survival is the only thing that matters, and the lines can get very blurry.
Totally. And then December 1981 hits.
Okay.
And everything changes. Bullock goes on this awful killing spree, murders at least 6 people
Wow.
in just a few weeks.
In a few weeks.
Yeah. And his victims, they seem so random. Like
Yeah.
a teacher, a prostitute, an investment consultant,
Mm-hmm.
a security guard, a gay man.
Jeez. That's
It's terrifying because it feels like anyone could be a target.
that randomness makes him so frightening, There's no motive, no way to know who he might go after next.
Right.
And this is where his nickname comes from.
Oh, good.
The .38 caliber killer, because that's the weapon he used in most of the murders.
Right. So that's where the .38 caliber killer comes from. But here's the thing,
Yeah.
why wasn't this case as big as Son of Sam?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right. Like, they both terrorized New York City.
Yeah.
Both committed horrific acts.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? Any theories on why Bullock flew under the radar for so long?
Well, I mean, I think there's a couple possibilities. First, Bullock's reign of terror was really short compared to Berkowitz.
Right.
Son of Sam was out there for over a year,
Right.
which gave the media and the public more time to get, to become obsessed with the case.
Right. The longer these things go on, the
Yeah.
more the media can kind of
Exactly.
jaunt to
It
it.
becomes part of the city's narrative.
Yeah.
And also, Bullock didn't really have that, that signature element.
Oh, like a calling card.
Yeah, that calling card that captivated everyone's imagination.
Like Berkowitz?
Right, like Berkowitz's, his claims about the demon dog.
Oh, yeah.
All those little details, they get people talking, speculating,
Yeah.
and grab headlines.
Right. But even though Bullock's crimes were equally awful,
Yeah.
the lack of a sensational narrative might have kept him out of the spotlight.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how much the media can really shape our perception of these events.
Yeah, it really makes you think
Right.
how many other cases, just as disturbing
Yeah.
and important, have been totally overshadowed because they didn't have that hook.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's a sobering thought
Yeah.
for sure. But
Yeah.
but let's get back to Bullock.
Okay.
How did he finally get caught?
Well, it all started with the disappearance of his roommate,
Okay.
Michael Winley,
Mm-hmm.
on January 14th, 1982.
Okay.
This is a classic example of how even like a seemingly small, unrelated event
Yeah.
can just crack a case wide open.
Yeah.
So the police, they start looking into Winley's disappearance,
Right.
and it leads them right to Bullock's door.
And what happens? What do they find?
Well, during the search,
Yeah.
they find a .38 caliber revolver
Wow.
and a shotgun.
Okay.
The evidence is staring them right in the face.
Right.
And this is where things get even more disturbing.
Oh.
Bullock doesn't just confess to the 6 murders.
Right.
He admits to shooting Winley
Okay.
and dumping his body in the Harlem River.
Wow. So there's this.
And get this.
Yeah.
Winley's body was never found.
Oh my gosh. So there's another layer of tragedy to this already horrifying story.
Right.
The fact that he just confessed so easily.
Right.
Says a lot about him, doesn't it?
It really does. His willingness to confess,
Mm-hmm.
even boast about the crimes,
Yeah.
it suggests a complete lack of remorse.
Yeah.
A detachment from the gravity of his actions.
Right.
It's truly chilling.
It is. Which brings us to the trial in 1982.
Mm-hmm.
Bullock's behavior in court was apparently very disturbing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he showed no remorse
Right.
and even seemed to take pleasure in describing his crimes.
He actually said,
What did he say?
and this is a direct quote,
Okay.
"Killing makes me happy. I enjoy what I do."
Wow.
It's one of those lines that just sticks with you,
Mm-hmm.
you know? A chilling glimpse into the mind of someone who seems to have completely lost touch with any sense of humanity.
Yeah, I mean, this is New York City.
Right.
Millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly this guy is preying on them, seemingly at random.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize that nobody is truly safe.
It's a terrifying thought, for sure. And
Yeah.
and the fact that he could derive pleasure
Yeah.
from taking another person's life, it's just difficult to comprehend.
Mhm.
It goes against everything we know about human nature.
Yeah. And the justice system clearly wanted to make an example out of him.
Mhm.
Like, they gave him 150 years to life,
Yeah,
which was unheard of in New York at the time.
totally. It was a clear message
Yeah.
that this level of brutality just wouldn't be tolerated.
Right.
But it also raises this important question.
What's that?
You know, what if we had recognized the warning signs? Like earlier,
Yeah.
if we had intervened when he was younger,
Mm-hmm.
could any of this have been prevented?
It's tricky, isn't it?
Mm.
Like, should we hold society accountable? I mean, Bullock clearly made awful choices.
Yeah.
But his background.
It makes you think about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The systems that might fail people and lead them down these dark paths.
Yeah. It's a lot to consider.
It is.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to imagine
Yeah.
what the families of Bullock victims went through.
Right.
You know, they lost their loved ones in such a senseless, brutal way.
Absolutely. Their pain must be unimaginable.
And in the case of Michael Winley,
Yeah.
whose body was never recovered,
Right.
there isn't even that sense of closure.
No, not at all.
You know, New Yorkers, they had already lived through the terror of Son of Sam.
Mm-hmm.
To have something like this happen again just a few years later,
Right.
it must have brought back all those feelings of fear.
Totally. Like this wound that was slowly healing
Yeah.
gets ripped open again.
Yeah, you can almost feel the city holding its breath.
Yeah.
Like after Son of Sam,
Mm-hmm.
everyone thought it couldn't happen again.
Right.
And then Bullock comes along.
And it happens again.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
like, suddenly everyone is looking over their shoulder
Oh,
wondering, what are we missing?
Mm. Yeah. Are we safe?
Who else is falling through the cracks?
Exactly. It really ignited this debate
Yeah.
about the role of poverty, mental health, opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
and the cycle of crime.
Right.
It made people question whether enough was being done to really address these underlying issues.
And it makes you wonder, you know, if those early arrests for theft and burglary,
Right.
if they had been taken more seriously,
Mm-hmm.
if there had been some kind of intervention,
Right.
could Bullock's life have taken a different path?
It's impossible to say for sure,
Right.
but it's a question that haunts us.
Yeah.
You know, was there a missed opportunity to change things, to save lives?
It's a chilling thought. It really speaks to the complexities of the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
Like, we want to hold criminals accountable,
Of course.
but there's also this responsibility to try and rehabilitate them.
Right, to prevent future crimes.
Yeah. It's a delicate balance,
It is.
especially when you're dealing with individuals like Bullock who show no remorse and seem to find pleasure in their crimes.
Right. But it's a balance we have to strive for
Hmm.
if we want to break the cycle.
It's about creating a system that not only punishes,
Yeah.
but also offers a chance for redemption.
A chance to become a productive member of society again.
Right, right. And it's about addressing those systemic issues we talked about.
Yeah, those cracks in the system.
Yeah, the cracks that allow people to fall through.
Right. If we can provide support and opportunities to those who are struggling, maybe we can prevent them from going down the same path as Bullock.
You know, one of the things that really struck me about this case is the randomness of his victims.
Right.
It adds this layer of terror that's hard to shake.
Yeah, because it could have been anyone.
It could have been anyone.
Exactly.
It makes you think, like, what if it had been me?
Right.
What if I had just been in the wrong place at the wrong time?
It's a chilling thought.
Yeah. It highlights our own vulnerability.
It does.
Our shared humanity.
It reminds us that we're all interconnected and that the actions of one person can have these ripple effects that extend far beyond the immediate victims.
Right.
And it also underscores the importance of remembering those victims.
Yes.
Their lives were cut short by senseless violence, and they deserve to be honored, you know? Their stories should be shared.
Absolutely.
Not to sensationalize the crime, but to remind us of the human cost.
Of the human cost,
of these acts.
Their families, their friends.
Right.
They're the ones who truly bear the lasting impact of Bullock's legacy.
Absolutely.
They're the ones we should be thinking about.
Yeah.
The ones who deserve our empathy and our commitment to creating a better and safer world.
And as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought.
All right.
David Bullock was a product of his environment, but he was also a human being who made choices.
Right.
What does that say about free will?
Wow.
About the nature of evil?
It's a complex question.
It is.
That deserves our attention.
It does.
So we've talked about Bullock's crimes and his background and the impact on New York.
Right.
But what about his legacy?
Yeah.
This guy, I mean, he wasn't as infamous as Son of Sam.
Right.
But he still left a mark on the city, right?
He did. His case might not have been as widely known.
Right.
But it definitely left a lasting impact on the city's psyche.
How so?
Well, it was this chilling reminder that the darkness that had gripped the city during Son of Sam, it wasn't really gone.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It could come back at any moment.
It's almost like the city was trying to move on.
Right.
To heal from that trauma. And then Bullock comes along.
And rips those wounds open again.
Yeah, and people probably started questioning everything again.
Yeah.
Like, are we really safe?
Exactly. And Bullock's crimes, with their roots in poverty and neglect, they brought back a lot of those questions about social inequality.
Right.
It wasn't just about one man's terrible actions. It was about a system that was failing some of its most vulnerable people.
So it wasn't just fear, it was anger too.
Yeah, there was definitely a sense of frustration.
Okay.
A feeling that things needed to change.
Right.
People were starting to understand that crime.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about individual choices. It was about this complex web of social and economic factors.
Did anything actually change, though? I mean, did Bullock's case actually lead to any reforms?
Well, it's hard to say,
I mean,
it's hard to point to any specific sweeping changes that can be directly attributed to this case.
Yeah.
But it definitely contributed to a growing awareness of these issues.
Okay.
It added fuel to the fire.
So maybe it was more about a gradual shift in thinking.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Bullock's case, along with others from that era, they helped to push the conversation forward.
Right.
People started talking more about these early intervention programs.
Right.
About addressing social inequalities.
Right.
Taking this more holistic approach to crime prevention.
It's a reminder that sometimes change happens slowly, in small steps.
Right.
But even the darkest stories, like Bullock's, they can have a positive impact if they force us to really confront uncomfortable truths.
Absolutely.
And work towards a better future.
And let's not forget the victims in all of this.
Yeah.
Their lives were cut short by senseless violence.
It's awful.
And they deserve to be remembered, not as statistics, but as human beings.
With families, with loved ones.
Exactly.
Who still feel their loss every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their stories need to be told, their memories honored.
Absolutely. They're the ones who carry the weight of Bullock's legacy.
Right.
And as we wrap up our dump dive here, I want to circle back to that question of free will versus environment that we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Like, Bullock was obviously shaped by his circumstances.
Right.
But he also made choices.
He did.
Horrific choices that resulted in the loss of innocent lives.
It's the age-old question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nature versus nurture.
Right.
How much control do we really have? And what about the nature of evil? Is it something we're born with?
Right.
Or is it something we learn?
It's a question that's puzzled people forever. And I don't think there are any easy answers.
I don't think so either.
But by examining cases like this, by grappling with these complex questions, we can gain a deeper understanding of human behavior.
Absolutely.
And the forces that really shape our lives.
And maybe that understanding can help us create a world where these kinds of tragedies are less likely to happen.
It might sound idealistic, but it's a goal worth striving for.
It is.
Absolutely. And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this this journey into the shadows of New York City's past.
It's been a fascinating one.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive.
We will.
But until then, stay curious, stay informed, and as always, stay safe.